My name's Kaïa, and I'm going to be talking to you about sleep systems. Having a good sleep system will make or break whether your next day is a good experience, because if you have ever been in a situation that was too cold or too wet and you stayed up all night, which I have, it definitely puts a damper on things. So there are three main components to a sleep system. One is going to be your structure, second is going to be your pad, and third is going to be your sleeping bag. So for the structure, you have a couple of options. A tent is the most traditional. You can also use a hammock, which is what we're going to do today, and you could also use a bivy sack. I have never actually used a bivy sack, but a bivy sack is basically like a bag that you put your sleeping bag and mat in that keeps you dry, but it doesn't offer the same like structure as a tent. I'm sure you know what a tent is. You can get lightweight ones, or there are bigger ones depending on what sort of situation you have. Tents are great. And then hammocks are more and more popular. And I really like a hammock because it's tiny, as you can see, and it's pretty lightweight, and I find them really comfortable. The drawbacks to a hammock are that if it rains, you're kind of out of luck, and if it's really buggy, you're also out of luck, and if you're in a situation with no trees, you're gonna have a very difficult time. So I really like using hammocks in the summer when I've looked at the weather forecast in advance and I know that the chance of rain is really low, so I'm gonna be fine. So let's put it up. So you have your hammock or your tent, whatever, set up. Next stage is a sleeping mat. A sleeping mat is not just for you to be like, you know, comfortable on the ground. It's also for insulation, so it's very important for keeping you warm. I guess the two like main kinds of mats are ones that you blow up or ones like foam pads. Foam pads are a little bit bulkier, but they're really lightweight, so they can be a good option. I have this mat that is like, I don't know, maybe from the 90s, like who can say? It's been around, but it's a great mat and it's lasted all this time. Yeah, it's not like the fanciest or most lightweight or tiniest, but it gets the job done and I love it, and I don't love spending money. We got our structure, we got our mat. Next up is what keeps you warm, besides the insulation from that. So your sleeping bag. And there are a couple different options for sleeping bags. If like you remember sleeping over at friends' houses from childhood, maybe you had a really rectangular sleeping bag. Those are chill, but they're not the best for keeping you warm because there's a lot of empty space. Like if I have a rectangular bag that goes here, all this space around my feet is empty and I'm gonna have to be working to warm that up. So mummy sleeping bags are the more heat efficient bags, and basically it's just a bag that mirrors your body shape a little bit more. Some factors are, a lot of them are gendered. The women's sleeping bags are wider at the hips and narrower at the shoulder, and the men's are opposite. But choose a sleeping bag that works best for you and for your body. Also on that note, some of them come in long or in short, and it's a little harder to find mummy sleeping bags that are different widths. So catch up, outdoor industry, please. The other factor with gendered sleeping bags is that despite the fact that we are in 2020, the women's sleeping bags tend to be purple and pink, and the men's tend to be other colors. We're gonna take a little break for a dog. You choose your sleeping bag based on what works best for your body and your needs. One of your options is going to be down or synthetic. Down can sometimes not do as well if it gets wet, but I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty. Choose what works best for you and your budget. If you have a sleeping bag that has a compression sack like this, it'll get fairly small, but you do not want to store it in here. You want to store it in a larger bag, which will usually come with it, like this, which is about double the size. And that's really important because if you keep it like this all the time in your house, it damages it. So you want to keep it in something like this, and then until you're ready for your trip. And then I usually use this bag for my clothing because it's a nice way to keep all my clothes together in my backpack. So here you are. You got your lovely sleeping bag. On each sleeping bag, you will see the rating for the temperature. Ooh. So this is my Horatio, and it says it goes down to 15 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty chilly. Usually if I were actually sleeping in the sleeping bag at 15 degrees Fahrenheit, I would be okay, but I might not be comfortable. So keep that in mind and check out the temperature rating for the bag you're looking for. And it really all depends, like, are you trying to do camping in the middle of summer, or are you trying to push it and do like a November camping trip? Maybe you need something colder in that situation. The other option for sleeping bags is not a bag at all. It's a quilt. I've never used a quilt, but I have some friends who love the quilt. It's like, I think it is tucked around your feet and then it opens up, and somehow it's supposed to keep you really warm despite not being enclosed. Look into it if you want to. And maybe you're thinking, Kaïa, you forgot pillows. Real. Pillows are one of those things where if you're on a backpacking trip, maybe you don't want to lug around the whole pillow. But what I usually do is I use my stuff sack, and I'll put like a jacket or a sweater in here, and I'll use that as my pillow. You can also get tiny camping pillows, or you can use a bag, which I'll show you. You can use a bag repurposed from carrying a beverage in a box. And if you have one of these bags, you can empty it out, clean it out a bit, and then blow it up, and you have yourself a pillow. And then if you're like, oh my god, it's too stiff, you just, oh yeah, that's nice. So cozy. And the lovely thing about these hammocks is this is how you store the hammock, but it also makes a little pocket so you can keep your book in there. All right, well, I hope that you find a sleep system that works for you, and remember that you can always borrow from friends or groups like Wild Diversity if you're looking to try stuff out before you commit to spending money, because it can be a lot. And I hope to see you out on the trails or on the water sometime.